Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA Veteran Jeff Curran. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Jeff, I've always been curious, how did you get your nickname, Big Frog?
When I was like 18 years old, I was warming up a jiu-jitsu class, either warming up a class or in a class, I forget which, and a couple of the Brazilian guys on the floor, at the time, they were saying that I looked like a big frog, and I had a tattoo of a frog on my back, and they were just saying I looked like a big frog doing the warm-ups, and basically asked if I had any resemblance to having a tattoo of a frog and doing warm-ups like a frog, and I was like, no, didn't even think about it. And I don't know, a couple of years later, I was asked by Full Contact Fighter if I had a nickname, and I told them, that was the only time I'd ever been given a nickname, and it kind of stuck.
Just curious, why did you have the frog tattoo? What was that for?
I just had like a tree frog kind of climbing over like some Japanese or Chinese kanji type, just a symbol. And when I was a kid, we used to go down to the river and like literally catch like hundreds of frogs. So when I was looking at tattoos when I was 18, I was like, oh, that's cool. Get a green tree frog. That'll look cool. I don't know. Just a kid got a tattoo as a frog.
I see. Now, Jeff, this Friday at Extreme Challenge 227, you're going to be making your flyweight debut. Extreme Challenge, that was the organization that you got your start in way back at Extreme Challenge 13, I believe it was, back in 1998. This long career that you've had, looking back on it now, did you think, back in 1998 that in 2013 you'd still be fighting?
Well, November of 97 is when I fought in my first 8-man tournament for Extreme Challenge, which was at the time Monty attempted developing an amateur division to earn a pro spot. So that was kind of like if you won the 8-man tournament, you'd get a pro fight, quote, pro fight. So, from November on, I did a bunch of real, small-time amateur fights, and I did that 8-man tournament for Extreme Challenge trials, and then in January of 98, I believe it is, January of 98, I made my pro debut against Henry Monrois, and that was like Extreme Challenge 13, then I fought Extreme Challenge 17, and I think Extreme Challenge 30, or something along those lines, and then after that, Monty had been managing me through my whole career, so after that, we just started mixing it up and getting outside the box.
Now, you made your debut, you mentioned the 8-man tournament and then your pro debut because you won that tournament, fighting for Extreme Challenge. Now, back with Extreme Challenge, fighting in a new weight class, first fight back from when you were released from the UFC. To the outside eye, it would look like you're starting over, but do you feel that you're starting over now that all this is happening?
I think in some elements of my career, I'm starting over. It is a new weight class. I had a year off. I had a couple surgeries. I had a couple other major injuries. So about 4 major injuries in a year off. And, my career kind of starting from scratch. I'm fighting a kid with 12 fights, and he's won his last 4. So I look at it like this is a new division. If I'm really going to have a fresh start and clear my head, I'm looking at it like I'm 0-0. And I look at it like I'm starting fresh, and I have this opportunity ahead of me to come in strong and stay strong until I decide that I want to get out of the sport. And if I can do that, then I would be, I'd be really happy, really fortunate.
Now, this is your second time cutting down to 125. You were supposed to have a fight back in August of last year against Dustin Ortiz, but both injuries to you and him led to that fight getting canceled. This time around, has this weight cut been easier now that you had that first experience? Because I saw you cornering Joey Deal on the last XFC card. I saw you on Access TV, and you look like you're on weight. So how is your weight right now, and how easy has this weight cut been for you?
It hasn't been easy because I like to eat, but it's been easy in a sense that the weight came off, mean, I'm really a small guy. I spent my whole career, even at 145, even at 135, just trying to keep my size a little bit and lifting weights and, pretty much being able to eat whatever it is I felt like in order to, until the last few weeks before a fight. So in this case, I just went on a really strict diet for the past couple months, and it shrunk my body up, and I feel healthy, I feel energized, and I feel like, I kind of have a new body and a new shot at a career, and, starting with the Extreme Challenge is going to be the first step. And I think that because of my accomplishments and my career and my history, that's where the experience is going to catapult me through the division faster than somebody starting from scratch. So that's why I look at kind of like a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. Going to 125, was this a move that you made because of the last stint that you had in the UFC? Was it based on that, not having the success that you wanted, or was it just that now you should have been fighting at this weight class a long time ago, and now there's a lot more fighters in it and it's more developed? What's the main reason you've moved down to flyweight?
I don't think I'm going to have the height disadvantage as much as I felt like I had with Eduardo. That fight really frustrated me. I thought I was going to be able to get closer to him and punch my way in, and I didn't feel small compared to Jorgensen. I mean, he's the same size as me. He's going to probably end up being a 125 as well. So it wasn't like that fight didn't discourage me from being a bantamweight, but looking ahead and just knowing some other bantamweights, even a couple of them in my gym, it's kind of like I think I need to be smaller. And then, the weight class is there and the opportunity is there, and with something fresh like that and then a new angle, the UFC has a chance to, or an excuse to say, hey, we can give Jeff a shot at this. He was razor close at the other weight classes. Let's see if the weight makes a difference. And it's a chance for me to end my career strong and hopefully, get out of the sport where I feel I need to for the sacrifices I've made, and be able to take care of my family a little bit better here towards the end of the career. And it's just kind of an overall team and family decision.
Mm-hmm. Now, the hand injury, that forced you out of the Dustin Ortiz fight, and then after that, the hand injury, you suffered a knee injury. At this point in time, were you ever thinking about retiring? Because you've had some injuries in the past, and another injury like this sidelined you for a little bit more time. Was there ever a thought about retirement?
Not really. I mean, the thought crosses your mind all. As a fighter, it crosses your mind every time I would say later in your career, like I am. Even though I'm not the oldest guy in the sport, with my experience and the amount of fights, I am one of the oldest in the sport. So all the injuries, it's like, what am I doing this for? I'm not making any real money. I'm squeaking by, if that, and I have all these other areas in my life that need attention, from business to family and all that, and coaching responsibilities and stuff like that. But it crosses my mind. I won't lie, but it doesn't last more than the thought. Mm-hmm. Kind of stops there.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were fighting for UFC, you had the two losses at 135. There was, some reports that you were going to go down to 125 and still be in the UFC. What exactly happened there? Because, there had been some other guys, Jared Papazian, he fought at 135, and then he was 0-2, and then he got a third chance to fight at 125. There was that rumor there that you were going to go down to 125 and the UFC was going to give you one more opportunity to get a win and to get a fresh start in a new weight class. What exactly happened there? Why didn't you get that third opportunity? And what did they say to you when they released you?
Sean Shelby pretty much said, Jeff's a bit of a victim of his own record. That 125 is a new division. Not a lot of guys with the amount of fights he's got, and they're all younger breed. And, he's fallen short in the last couple opportunities. We think that, he's like, I'd like to think that you'll do well at 25, but until I see you finishing fights and being exciting like you were in the past, in past fights, then I want to see it happen outside of the UFC. And at the same time, they were just starting the 125 tournament, and it was going to be a matter of sit around for a year and wait for a spot. And even though it would have worked out, a year would have worked out perfect for me. They didn't want me practicing the division in the UFC, and I also don't. I had no problem with it. Honestly, I have no problem building my way back up. I've done it before, and I plan on doing it again. But within reality.
Now, your goal, it's obvious, to get back to the UFC. For whatever reason, I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but for whatever reason, you don't make it back to the UFC, and you don't, put together a couple wins in there. I don't want to say your career be incomplete, but would you have not have accomplished everything that you wanted? If you don't get back there, how will you feel?
Of course, I'll feel like I fell short. I've had my moments in my career where, they were great moments, and they were moments where I felt like, wow, I finally cemented myself as, one of the best in the world, and things of that nature. And I've headlined WEC over Chael Sonnen, again, in a world title fight. And those moments, even though I fell short, those moments were moments of near accomplishment. They weren't accomplishment, obviously, because I lost, but I had moments where I felt like, okay, I reached the pinnacle of the sport, but maybe on the 10th step, not the 12th step. And it's kind of like, if my career were to end right now, if I were to fight Friday, win or lose, break my hand again, have something major happen where I wasn't going to be covered by, a major insurance plan like the UFC has or something like that, and I was going to end up dishing money out of my pocket and taking 6 months to recover, then a realistic big boy decision needs to be made, and I have to step up and say, hey, I just day late, dollar short, and the days of crying about it and being depressed about it have to go behind me. I have people in my life that are successful because of me, and a lot of people are successful in the sport because of me, and my family is safe and happy because of me, and there's a lot of more things to life than fighting, whereas probably a couple of years ago that wasn't my mindset. So I've accepted that, but I think that just took some big pressure off of me, which is going to allow me to come out and actually be the successful person that I need to be.
Now, what exactly is your goal here? Obviously it's to, get some wins on the regional circuit and then get signed back to the UFC. But once you get back there, is the goal just to get a couple wins in there and then, go out on top? Or is it, to put together a title run? What are you hoping to do now that you're at this new weight class?
Honestly, right now, I'm not, UFC isn't like this big goal of mine. It is a goal of mine, but my whole existence isn't to get back to the UFC. And there's reasons for that. One, I want to earn my place, and I don't want to have some big upset. I don't want to make things harder on myself than they're going to be when it comes, if it were to come time to retire. Two, I have a couple big fights ahead of me. They're fights that are going to prove my worth in the sport. And when I prove my worth in the sport for the present day, that might be enough for me. I might say, maybe I don't want to commit. The decision to go back to UFC is going to be more than one fight, more than get a couple wins, get a shot at another fight, be able to walk into the UFC again. I know I can bust my ass and get back there. I have to make the decision if I'm going to recommit myself to, another 3 to 5 years of being a UFC fighter and put everything out there. So, my 2 fights a year that I'll probably have as a flyweight count, and they have no reason to get rid of me. And then, I would imagine if I make it back to the UFC and we all decide that we're going to sign back with them, and that's the route I'm going to take, I would imagine I would be one of the guys with 1 or 2 wins, and I'd get a title shot because of my history. And the fights that I'm going to win to get back there are going to be important. Now,
your opponent for this Friday, Josh Killian, you've probably seen every strike there is to throw, every submission there is to attempt. What does he do that, I don't want to say worries you, but when you're fighting him, what do you need to be aware of and cautious of when fighting him?
The only thing that I think I have to be worried about with anybody that I fight right now is something wild, something unpredictable. The kid is winning fights, so I don't discount him at all. I'm just going to fight him. My coach asked me today, my boxing coach, she's like, what's our plan? And I said, I'm going to have one. I'm just going to fight this guy. I'm not saying I'm going to feel him out. I'm not saying I'm going to box with him. I'm really just going to let instincts take over and go out there, wait for the bell to ring, and see what happens.
And now, at this point in your career, you've been fighting for a long time, and like I said, probably seen everything there is to see in this sport. What is like the main thing that would happen if you lost a fight? Because you've seen everything there is. Is it just that maybe your opponent comes in better shape than you? Is it you do something stupid? What would lead you to lose a fight at this stage in your career?
I don't think someone's been in better shape than me.
Sure.
I don't think someone's punched harder than me or anything like that. I think like with the Eduardo fight, I trained really hard to check kicks and stuff like that, but he was just a better top boxer, and the way to nullify top boxing when I felt like I was being out-kicked would be to get inside and land punches, and I didn't do that till the third round. Maybe when he was slowing up a little bit, I was able to get in and land a couple big shots. And the other way would be to take him down, which I couldn't because he was punching and kicking, kind of moving backwards and using his reach really well. So every fight's a little something that could be an adjustment, but, the Jorgensen fight, a lazy kick to the inside, and he caught my leg on the way back, and we ended up on the ground. Another time we ended up on the ground is when I took a shot on him, and it was a bad shot. So if I wouldn't have kicked, if I wouldn't have shot, that's two more times I would have been on my feet, and I was winning the fight on the feet with Jorgensen. So something like Josh Killian, who doesn't have near the experience as me or the training that I have, it would have to take a real big error on my part for him to beat me. I don't think that it would be something he's going to show me that I kind of get like thrown back by. I think it'd have to be me falling short or something, and I'm not going to say that's not possible, but I got a pretty good overall level compared to this guy, and this fight is to do just that. It's just take a kid that was 5 years old when I was making my pro debut, and now he's on a roll, getting ready to submerge himself into the division, into the sport, and it's kind of old versus new, and it's my chance to go out there and use my experience and show everybody that I belong. This is the lower level, and I think that this is a fight that shows people that I belong in the mid-level. And then I'm going to go to the mid-level in June, and I'm going to fight someone like Sergio Pettis. And beating him is going to show that I can develop and deal with the mid-level. And then I think at that point I need to decide whether or not chasing the UFC is going to be a goal of mine.
Now, at this stage in your career, inside of your training, how much more can you improve? At this late stage in your career, what areas can you improve on, or is it just not so much of the areas that you can improve on? It's just that sharpening up the stuff that you already have. What kind of improvements can you make at this stage in your career?
There's always room for improvement. Sometimes it's not learning something new. Sometimes it's revisiting things that I used to do, or things that I once had in my toolbox or something like that. It is a lot of just honing and sharpening my skills. It's staying healthy and staying in shape and having a clear vision and a clear mind, and not being stressed out, and trying to just focus myself and wrap my head around being a fighter. I do travel a lot with the fighters and my team, and I coach a lot. I have a lot of things that pull me from focusing on me, so really just trying to get a handle on all that, and that's an ongoing battle and a changing issue day to day. So, sometimes it's just a matter of whether or not everything's aligning or not. And I've had my share of fights not go my way and go to decision. And I had my share of wins that went decision my way. And I think now it's time to just kind of start over fresh, go into fights with the mindset of finishing them and not trying to pick people apart too much. More or less just go out there and worry about what I'm capable of doing and impose my will and let my hands fly and let my submissions come and, look for takedowns and just really make it an MMA fight and try to keep it a little messy. And I think I've always done well like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, at Team Curran, who are some of your coaches? Because I always see you, cornering and coaching your fighters. When it's time for you to fight, who coaches you?
I have a boxing coach, Doug Mango, so he would be my head coach. Doug holds the pads for me, and as far as mitts go, and works my boxing, and coaches me through sparring, and kind of helps me with game planning and stuff like that. And then I have a Thai boxing coach, not newly to our school this past 6 months, Ian Alexander, who coaches all the guys and takes on the classes and stuff like that I used to teach, and helps coach me and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, and there's a few other coaches, Brett Brendel, a lot of people, they're helping me prepare for a fight is handling most of my workload, because again, they don't have this big ownership of my career where they're going to tell me exactly what I need to do, and I'm going to listen to it 100% because I'm the one with the experience in the group. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it comes down to me just telling guys what I need, and it's been good. It would be nice to have that one coach like I do my boxing coach, but I don't think that I would respond. I would respond the same as I do right now. We're a good team. We all kind of talk about everything, and I get to kind of be my own head coach, and then I have my own striking coach or two that I need to tap into here and there. So it's a good blend.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned after this fight you're going to be taking on Sergio Pettis. That's going to be in RFA for the RFA flyweight title. That's going to be on June 21st. After this fight against Josh Killian, will you go right back into training? Obviously, you stay around the gym always because it's your gym, but will you go back right into training, or will you take time off depending on what happens in this fight?
My plan is to do whatever I need to do mentally. Hopefully, I'm physically fine. I got a week of catch up I have to play. I got to teach some classes that I've been missing out on, touch base with some of my students. I have to catch up on some bills and office work. I'll continue to, grapple and roll with my class. I'll take a couple weeks off of hard sparring. But I'll stay in the gym. I'll stay in shape. I'll eat what I want for a week or two. That kind of thing. And then I'm going to get right back at it.
Mm-hmm. And now, how much does that fight depend on what happens in this fight? So, like if you get injured or lose, is that fight canceled? What do they go hand in hand, or are they not really related at all? How does that work? I'm just curious.
Well, if I was them, I would give the kid that beat me the fight.
Sure.
I also would have waited another week before I announced it, but this is something that it's just my luck. We worked with it. We were discussing fighting for the RFA literally since the beginning of summer. Mm-hmm. Probably even before I had this fight with Ortiz booked, we were discussing, and we couldn't come to a deal. And then I scheduled a local fight here, and that fell through. So we started scrambling. And the time that we locked in the May 3rd fight, a week or two later, they really wanted to lock in this other fight. And I said, well, let's see if this May 3rd thing actually happens before we commit to anything. And they were kind of like, yeah, it's all a ways away, and it's far enough off that, they didn't have a problem with it. So, and everybody's pretty confident in me for the weekend. So we're just going to kind of cross our fingers and hope that everything lines up.
I see, definitely. Jeff, you have a documentary coming out, Martial Life. Why did you decide right now is the time to put together a documentary? Why not wait, a couple of years from now when your career is done to release a movie? Why did you decide now was the right time to put out this documentary?
To me, the message that I'm going to try to send with the video is it's no stress on me. I'm not filming it. I'm not editing it.
Sure.
You know, it's not. I don't have to go out of my way for anything. I just decided to, you know, to let the guys capture what my life is, so people can see. You know, when I do an interview with you and you ask me, you know, you have all these other responsibilities. You coach. Yeah, I can tell you I do this, I do that, and everybody goes, oh yeah, you know, well this guy coaches, that guy coaches. Everyone's busy, but they're not. Nobody lives the busy life like I do, running my gym and coaching it as much as I do 2 months before a fight. So it was basically just such good timing to say, hey, let's just film it. We're going to be on location at 4 or 5 different events in the 6 weeks leading up to your fight. You're going to be slammed with coaching responsibilities and, you know, family stuff, and you still got, not only that, you got to do this, and it's like, that's just the story of my life, so feel free to film it. And now it's kind of taking shape, and I think that worst case scenario, it's not like a comeback, it's not like you don't know if I'm going to win or lose, but it really is just a chance for me to document one of the more important times in my life, and it's a time where I decided one way or the other, I'm either going forward or backwards in the sport as a fighter or a coach, and it just felt like let's get this documented, and I'll always have it to look back on and show the kids that we have no plan on selling it. It's going to be a free release. There's no money involved. Everybody's volunteering their time and efforts, and I just think we couldn't beat it. You know, it's a chance to bring the fans closer to my life and my team, and to showcase what we're all about. And you know, hopefully, it does just that.
What's the timeline for this movie? When will the story of the movie start, and when will it end? Will it be you know, after this fight? Will it be like right now, and then like we'll just have to, you know, kind of have like a cliffhanger ending? What exactly is the timeline for this movie?
The film begins at the 6-week mark. Like the very first day of filming is exactly 6 weeks out, and it's it picks up right there. It's just 6 weeks out. It's timelined, and it's gonna take everybody all the way through my fight, and it's gonna be overlaid with an interview about my life as a kid and how I got involved with fighting, and you know what the martial arts has done for myself and how it's affected my family in good ways and bad. It's going to feature lots of my fighters like Felice Herrig, Pat Curran, Bud Moshevsky, Joey Deal, Corey Galloway, my whole team that fought locally here. It's going to have little bits and pieces of their careers intertwined in my coaches, and so it's going to be good.
Now, you said it was going to be a free release. When will it be out? You know, is it going to be summer, maybe fall, winter? When can we expect this to be out?
We're hoping for midsummer.
I see.
That's what the guy doing all the editing and filming. His plan is summer of 2013. Once we have a finished product, then we're going to do a couple premieres at a couple different locations, and then from there get the buzz out, and throw out some formal trailers. Right now we just have some teasers out there, and then after that, figure out where we're going to want to release the whole film to the masses, and we have a few different ideas.
I see. Now, Jeff, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
You know, if the fans could follow me on Twitter at BigFrogBJJ and at Team Curran MMA, that would be great. And appreciate, you know, all their support as always. And big shout out to my manager, Monty Cox, and Brian Butler of Sucker Punch Entertainment, and my two sponsors that are always behind my back, Alienware MMA and, Alienware Gaming Systems, but Alienware MMA division sponsors me, and Blue Grace Logistics. Everybody at Team Curran, my wife, my family, thank you for paying attention to my career, and wish me the best.
Yeah, definitely.
4 days to go.
Definitely. Jeff, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck this Friday night at Extreme Challenge 227 against Josh Killian.